He's not. He's not getting in. He needs to go back to school. So what happened was, 2 days later ish, my buddy called me and he said, "I'm not going to retake the ASVAB. I already swore in, dude. You don't get out of a contract with the government. It doesn't happen." So, a couple months later, I shipped off the basic training, and my friend just continued to party. He ended up moping around town and doing odd jobs, working Long John Silver's type of stuff for the next several years, and then he ended up going to get his GED. He got into college, got some stuff, and then he went in as an officer into the military because he had college type of stuff. Not an officer, but a higher rank. I think he went in like an E4, somewhere in there. It was much higher than what I ever got to. And so I went to the training. I decided the military wasn't for me. I finished my training in El Paso. When I got out of AIT, I came back, National Guard. You do 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out of the year, basically training. Well, our unit, we were, when the war and stuff happened, it really got stepped up. But I'll tell you, the given all of that, I could say my friend duped me into going in on the thing, but that's not the truth. I found out that if there ever was a war, and you got to remember, when we were teenage boys, we would like Arnold Schwarzenegger Commando, and then Predator. Remember Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger as well? And so I think there was a movie, Remo Williams. I don't remember when that came out, but they had all these movies. So what other movies? Full Metal Jacket, and then so we were teenage boys, and you think about war, and you think about all of this. They romanticize it. They make it look really, really big, and so you go out and you do the whole thing. And so I didn't know much about. You had the old Vietnam movies, and then there was Clint Eastwood, and we're still around. We're not that old, but we're old enough to remember all of the. What was his name? Marion Morrison. What was his name? John Wayne movies and Clint Eastwood movies, the Hamburger. We remembered all of those movies, right? And so they kind of glorified battle, and so it's something you're interested in. But the truth is, I didn't know that much about war. The Vietnam War had ended a year after I was born, and so there goes the economy and all that. I'm not going to get back on that stuff again. But here's the deal. The number one reason why I signed up is because the recruiter explained to me that. Well, let me back up just a little bit. There was a family who owned a tortilla factory in the town where I lived. I actually worked there for a while. It's called La Poblanita, and it was owned by an amazing family of Mexicans, and the man's name was Trujillo. It was the Trujillo family. David Trujillo was a guy who was a couple years older than me in school. Actually, he was as old as my oldest sister, and he dated a girl, one of my sister's friends, one of my friends. And David was in the Guard, and his brothers were in the Guard. His dad, everybody was in the Guard in his family. Everybody was a soldier. And heard stories and stuff, not really glorifying, but talking about when they would go out on trainings and stuff, they never flew on the same plane because if one of the brothers, if something was to happen, they don't want siblings, you don't want two brothers going down on the same plane. You don't want two people dying, so they keep them separated. Well, along those lines, the discussion came up somehow, and I don't know how it was, but the recruiter explained to me that in the event that there was a war, and I was already serving, my brother would not be drafted. My brother couldn't be sent to war because he was the only other thing, and I thought, well, that would be really cool if I could join the military and serve, and then my brother would never be at risk to go in. My brother never, I didn't discuss this with him until, if I ever did, it was years later. But no one ever really knew the real reason why I signed up, and the real reason why, it wasn't because my friend talked me into it. When I found out that I could go to war, and my little brother would never have to go see any of the things that I didn't know about war, then why not? I wasn't doing anything else with my life, and so I did. I actually went over to the Met station and all, and I'm not surprised that my friend let me down on the buddy system. We didn't go in. So I shipped out. I went to the military. Wound up in El Paso a little while later, and on that same mountain, I didn't know that while I was training there in the Logan Heights, while we were out doing runs in the morning and stuff, I didn't know that just down the road, a couple miles, there was actually an old neighborhood called, I think it's the Sunset Heights, where there were literally underground tunnels. We went there here not long ago, me and my daughter Carly, because she likes that kind of stuff. we actually went to this house. It's called, you can Google it. You can find it, might be on Reddit, but you can probably Google it on the internet. I think, I'm pretty sure. That's how we found it. It's called the Turtle House. There's a building in El Paso, Texas. And on the side, by the way, it's a private building. People live there. Don't make the mistake I did. I thought it was a real estate agency. So me and Carly went over there, right? And there's this guy out, this little cholo out there washing his beautiful little lowrider car. He had a great Impala, by the way, and looked sharp. He was out there polishing his car. We pulled up, and he was like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" He's like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Is this the Turtle House?" And he said, "It's the Turtle House." And I was like, "Oh." And I said, "Where is it?" And he said, "It's right there." He said, "Just walk down the alley, and you'll see the turtles on the wall." I thought it was a real estate agency. I thought it was a business. It is an apartment. It's residence. And so we walked down the alley, and we were looking through the bin on the street, and he went back there, and he said, "Just go back there. You'll see a steel plate on the thing." He said, "That's access." He said, "It's locked up. You can't get in," which you can't. But I was standing on someone's back porch looking kind of at like how we could get down on the side of the building in the alleyway. There was a grating, so we could see some stuff that we'd seen on the internet by looking down. If someone was snooping around my back porch looking for a way to get in, I'm probably going to thump them in the head. Certainly ask them what they were doing. But just so you'll know, if you find the place and you decide to go over and look at it, be careful, because people live there. It is in a public alleyway, but people do live there. Yeah, so I didn't know that at the time. But anyways, tons of ghost towns, all kinds of stuff. Underground cities in Turkey, the Mayan ruins down in Belize, Guatemala, Mexico. They just discovered with LIDAR. The Mayan Empire was far bigger than they ever thought it was. When we were in Belize, we went over to see some of the Mayan ruins. We went to one in particular called Alton Hall. When we were at Alton Hall, it's a couple miles from the Caribbean coast. When we were leaving that place, it's just a beautiful place, by the way, to stand on top of a Mayan temple and look over the top of the rainforest, and all you can pretty much see is trees as far as you can see. And it's quiet. It's peaceful. The rainforest is an amazing place. I love the rainforest. But when we were leaving that place, our tour guide, we were actually staying out on an island called Caulker, right? It's out there by Ambergris Key, and there's lots of different keys. I think there's 350 different islands in Belize and they have the second largest barrier reef in the world. I think, I'm not for sure, but certainly it's right up there. If it's not, it's one of the biggest barrier reefs in the world. So we took a tour. We actually caught a taxi in. I don't know how long it's 30 minutes. I don't know how many miles it is from Belize City, but we actually went from Caulker into Belize City because we spent our whole time out on the island doing the snorkeling at the reef and stuff, those kinds of trips. We went in, and there was a cave too where you enter tube where a river's running through a mountain. You go through the caves and stuff. We went there too. I didn't do this. I was watching Mary. I got to watch Mary while my girls had fun. No, I had more fun watching Mary. But when we went to Alton Hall, when we were leaving Alton Hall, our tour guide was driving through the jungle, and I told the guy, because he lives in Ladyville. He lives right outside of Belize. He lives in Ladyville. Belizean people, there's some amazing Belizean people. And when we were driving out of the jungle, I told him, I said, these are ruins. I looked over and I saw these hills, these mounds, and I told him, those are pyramids, those are structures. And he said, yes, but you can't go there. And I was trying to figure out what he meant at first. Those are people's backyards. And when they used LIDAR to map the rainforest floor of Guatemala and Mexico and Belize, they discovered that the Mayan Empire was much, much larger than what they ever anticipated. And I'm like, well, I'm not surprised. There's a place not far from a city in southern Belize, right near the Guatemalan-Mexican border, called, in that area, it's called San Ignacio, I believe. And just outside of San Ignacio, there's a guy who just a Belizean. I've been Guatemalan. No, he's Belizean. No, he's Belizean. But he's out in the rainforest on his house one day, and he left his house and was walking out into the jungle by his backyard, and his dogs disappeared into a bush. And he went looking for them. Well, inside the bush was a little bitty hole. You can go see this documentary on the internet somewhere, but